Good morning. Welcome back to our second session where we're going to be talking about the relief measures that are available during these crazy times we find ourselves in. My name is Francois de Toey. It's my privilege to welcome you this morning and to lead this conversation with Ida and with Sunette. Again, as we had last week we focused quite a bit on the more on the UIF and TERS side and tax side of things, and also from a labor perspective, the things that employers need to consider. And we answered a lot of questions as well. And today we want to revisit some of the things that have changed, because even as we finished that session, there were new announcements that was available, things that we said you do it this way. There was now online applications that became available and all sorts of other things that changed during the last week. And then obviously, last night we had the president announce further changes and further things that's going to be coming out. Don't have a lot of information on all of it, but we also want to share that with you today. So, and then, we're definitely going to get into, what are the other relief measures that are available, and then again, answer your questions and all of that. If I can ask that, in the chats, you're welcome to say hi in that. But we please, in the chat, only ask questions once everybody said hi and settled in, so that it's easy for me to sort of just go through that and see what the questions are, and so that I can direct them to the relevant person to answer that for you, and so that we can give you as much value as possible during the session. So just to be clear, this is not the same session as last week. Last week's session has been recorded. It was recorded, so it is available here on the channel as well. So you're welcome to go check it out. There is a playlist on the landing page on the channel, and you'll say small business, and you will find the recording there if you wanted to watch that. So thank you very much, and very happy to have all of you here. And please engage and chat. And on that note, let me just say hi this morning to Ida. Ida, good morning. Welcome to back. I think you've got lots that you want to share with us today.
Good morning, everyone.
And then Sonnekus as well. Yeah, loads of development.
Hello, Francois. Hello,
hi, Sunette. Welcome to all of you, or both of you, not all of you, just both of you. I want to sort of get into this whole discussion. Let's just start off with what happened last night. Ida, obviously, I mean, everybody waited. I think it was 6 o'clock, and then 7 o'clock, and then 7:30, and 8, and 8:30. And finally, the president came on and he had lots to say. Obviously, lead it on with like what's been going on and sort of the sacrifices that's been made, why we're doing it, reminding everybody, and why we can't just go back to, tomorrow the gates open, let's just go back to normal. So he alluded, or he spoke about all of that. But the things I think we're really interested in is to sort of say, all right, but what are the things that is highlighted last night, and what are the things that we need to know of, new things that was announced?
So the main highlight is that they're gonna phase the awakening of the economy very slowly, and it's still with the thing to flatten the curve and ensure that not everybody is out there back in the world, because this virus hasn't just died and left the country now. It's still out there, you can still catch it, but to keep the curve as flat as possible and to ensure that social distancing is still being implemented in workspaces and where we go, and to protect not just each other, but the children and the people that are left at home. So there's a lot of things that he has said, and a lot of great things, but there's also a few things of concern. Let's start with the great things. They've released additional funding for TERS, and they've broadened the criteria for employers to be able to apply for TERS. Then there's a big focus from IDC for the procurement and manufacturing of PPE, not just now during the pandemic, but going forward after lockdown for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, possibly up to the end of the year. Then there was some increase of grants for children, other social grants, and then there is a big one for instance waiters and all those people that can't apply for UIF or any other benefit. There's that grant that is 350 Rand per month that we're waiting for guidance on how you can apply. Is it going to be digital? How is this going to work? There's also then the food assistance that they said they're going to do through vouchers and cash transfers. There's some loan schemes that are going to come into light with our banks through National Treasury and the Reserve Bank. And then there's some tax relief. They're going to defer some more of our payments. They've increased the parameters for companies to be able to apply for this deferrals. And then a big one, and I think this one is a major cash flow relief, is heightening the pay-as-you-earn deferral from 20% to 35%. That is a big one, helping cash flow throughout this period for the South Africans.
So I must say I'm a little bit concerned about all of this that's happening. So I was listening to this last night, and I was just thinking, like, it's great to say. When I turned around and said to my wife, like, this can also cause issues down the line. So it's great to have that you can now defer up to 35%, and that limit that you were referring to previously, remember, it was only for businesses that had turnover of less than 50 million. That has now been increased to 100 million. So there's going to be, more companies that would be able to make use of these deferral arrangements. But if you defer 35% of what you were supposed to pay, the only benefit from it is, well, two benefits. And the one is a benefit, the other one is not. The one is that you just don't pay it now. You're going to have to pay it later still. So just remember, if you're deferring a third of what you were supposed to pay and you defer it for 3 months, that's a whole month that you will have to pay in addition to whatever needs to be paid in that month at some point. And I know it will be split over a period of time, but technically that's happening. The only benefit is that there won't be penalties and interest on those deferral payments. Yes. So I just want to caution sort of people, although it's a great thing to defer 35% of your pay-as-you-earn liability, whenever you can pay your full pay-as-you-earn liability, I would say rather do that, because you may sit with it's helping you now, but maybe it's causing you an issue later on. So just, you need to plan it, and you need to be prepared for it. It's just, I don't know, that's my advice. I don't know what your view is on that. We didn't discuss that before the show. So what do you think?
No, my advice is the same. If you can pay it. Use the deferrals and all those measures if you really need it, because in the end you still have to pay it. The one thing is that they did say, that the president did say last night, is if you cannot pay it when it becomes due, and you have all the paperwork and all the supporting documents to show that you still don't have the income, you still don't have the cash flow, you can go to SARS and you can go make an agreement and arrange for how to pay it off over a longer period. But then you there's interests involved and there's negotiation involved with SARS. So as long as you can stay as compliant as you can, make use of what needs to be made of, but don't go dig a hole deeper than you can climb out of. That's my advice. Plan your cash.
Yes. Don't throw business planning and financial planning out the window now. You now need to focus on that more than ever. The other thing that is quite amazing to me, and I'm very positive and optimistic about what they do, I think it's fantastic what they're doing, but you hear these big amounts being announced, saying like 500 billion. So they like to go 500 billion, which is a lot of money, but it's like 250 Rand a person and 350 Rand a person. I'm just wondering on an individual basis how much of an impact that really has. So from government side, they're putting a lot of money into the system, but on a per person basis, it's still going to be tough for people. It's not just a wave a wand and now everything's okay.
Yeah, the filtering down of the funds that are being made available to reach the lowest level of employee, that is quite scary, because if you do the numbers, it's not a lot of money, and to survive on 250, 350 Rand a month, that's very scary. But this is our economy, and the only way I see us getting through this is helping each other and pushing each other's business and just making plans. And don't be a Scrooge, and don't be somebody that wants the most and gets the most. Just everybody is suffering. We have to look after each other. That's our South African history.
Yeah, I don't even have to add anything to that. I do want to ask you a question though. Around, you were talking about the focus is on procurement and specifically the manufacturing of PPE. Just what is PPE for me, please?
PPE is personal protective equipment. So that would be the material, masks, gloves, any type of visors that you can put in front of your face to protect you from contracting the virus through particles in the air and those type of things. In hospitals, they also look at all those boots that they put over all those what do you call them, all the protective clothing that the doctors need to wear, the clinics need to wear. So anything in that framework that protects you from contracting the virus in some way, there is now big movements to help people manufacture these, procure these. If you're bringing them in, if you export, you cannot export them. Export of all of this has been stopped. You can import. There's a lot of things on SARS regarding the custom duties of these things, but that PPE at this stage is what's saving us and keeping the curve as low as possible.
Okay, great stuff. Now I'm also 100% on board and and in line with what we were talking about. And I mean, all of this, I get the sense that what they're really trying to do is to keep things flowing, albeit yes, it won't be like, like a stream like this. It's maybe now a smaller stream for now, but it is at least keeping the economy going in some way and keeping people going in some way or form.
Last night, this is going to be a new economy for South Africa.
Okay, and then I mean, you've had so many questions. Maybe I should first, before I ask you, maybe first just let me jump to Sunette, because I want to talk about what we've been experiencing now since the in the last week. Obviously, since we had our first session, what are you experiencing? Because the more we help clients and the more we've got clients contacting us, the more we learn the things that they may be struggling with. So, I mean, from a labor perspective, Sunette, that all the employer-employee relationships, the agreements, what people are doing, like just no work, no pay, all the things we spoke about yesterday. I'm hearing more and more stories of these things happening. So, I mean, what is your experience been in the last week as far as this is concerned?
Francois, as I said last week, I think as we go along and as this thing is dragged out, the more this develops, and every day there's new things coming to the fore. What I've seen in the last week is a lot of clients, even though I advise them against it, and I see big corporates are now following the same thing. And I think it is as a result of the extension of the lockdown. A lot of employers have actually decided to go for the forced leave option for their staff at this moment in time. Like I said, I think it was a knee-jerk reaction to the extension of the lockdown. I think everybody was pretty, if I can put it in inverted commas, okay with the 3-week lockdown. But now that it's getting longer and longer and we don't know where we're going with this, I think all business owners are stopping and thinking, okay, but what's happening next? What should we do now? Because this is going to drag out longer than we anticipated. The possibility of retrenchments is becoming very real, even though TERS and all these other measures have been implemented and are being implemented to assist businesses and small businesses in particular. The fact of the matter is a lot of my clients' revenue have fallen by 70%, 80% just in this month. And this is only the first month. So unfortunately, retrenchments and layoffs are becoming a reality for us. Another thing that you mentioned just now is cash flow management. Because of a reduction in turnover or cash flow that they have at the moment, we try to advise our clients now on how to manage their cash flow, not from a financial point of view, but from a legal obligation point of view, and how to make specific arrangements with their creditors to just get them past April for now, and then obviously hear what the president has to say tomorrow evening, so that we can make longer term or medium term plans with them.
Yeah. No, this is the time, and I think the sort of one of the unfortunate consequences of this is that I think that, because like in any economy, it doesn't matter what's going on, there's always a group of companies or a group of people, individuals, business owners, that are actually okay and that may have sufficient cash reserves, but then everybody stops spending. It's like when the markets go down, everybody pulls their money out of the market instead of just staying put and just sort of keep on doing what you can do. And I think now, because everybody, as you say, there's nothing that stuffs up a business or a market or anything like that than uncertainty. We don't like uncertainty. We want certainty. We want to know this is what's going to happen, whether lockdown is ending or not, whether it's going to be phased out or not, and over what period of time, and what the process is. So yes, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night to hear, more the practical steps that we're going to be taking and how this is going to work. As I said to you girls before or to you ladies before we started, is that if I hear the amount of people driving up and down suddenly, it was so quiet the last 3 weeks. Yesterday was just like, I'm just hearing cars and hooters and things. And I'm like, okay, is lockdown done? Did I miss the message? So these things are really I think people are getting anxious and people are getting restless and they now want to get out, but I mean, we got to understand the plan and stick to the plan and then take control of what we can take control of. So that is sort of what the focus should be. And we shouldn't get all panicky and it's okay to panic. It's not that you shouldn't, but don't stay in that state. I think it's important for us to look at it from there. I want to ask you one more question quickly, Sunette. I've got people that I know personally that work for big companies, international companies, and they just received a letter to say, you know what, no work, no pay from this date onwards, that it is. And I asked, were they negotiated with you that you agreed to this or anything? And as far as I can understand, no. So is there different rules for smaller businesses and bigger businesses, or are people just, as you say, knee-jerk reaction? Sorry, this is what we're going to do. We need to protect the business.
Francois, fortunately for us, there's everybody's equal when it comes to labor law. I think sometimes the bigger guys just have a bit more firepower when it comes to negotiations and unions and the CCMA. But the fact of the matter is, no matter how big or how small you are, there's certain processes that need to be followed before you can do something like that. Now, your income or your salary or your remuneration forms part of your terms of your employment conditions or forms part of your employment conditions. And the Labour Relations Act say that an employer cannot unilaterally change your conditions of employment without, first of all, negotiating and then agreeing with an employee to do it. So these letters that's going out at the moment, and I hear it every day, I think it's bully tactics that employers are using at this moment in time. Yes, there is now not, and like I said, yes, last week, there's this exchange. An employee tenders his services in exchange for remuneration. Now, because of a lockdown, he cannot tender, and therefore there is no legal obligation towards an employer. But you know what? I don't like I said to you last week, I think a lot of people are using COVID as an excuse to reduce their payroll now all of a sudden, and they're not following due process. My advice to everybody would be, if you consider to make any changes to any conditions of your employees' terms or remuneration packages or whatever the case might be, make sure you communicate with them, get their input, speak to them and make sure that whatever you do is actually reduced to writing and is agreed with by the employees. Because it's okay for now, everybody's in panic mode and everybody is kind of in limbo. But there will be a time when we will go back to normal or the new normal, but it will not exempt employers from doing the wrong thing now, so they will still have consequences down the line. And I'm very for employment relations and keeping relations with your employees going. And I think we have a moral obligation towards our employees. If you're an employer at this moment in time, to take care of your employees as best as you can and to look after their best interest. If it means that you have to reduce their salary because there is no other way, make sure you communicate it with them and make sure that you have a plan in place with them. If it's a temporary one or a permanent one, but just communicate, have the decency. It's about decency, I think, from an employer's side.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. It's not a case of it's right or wrong to do these things. It is just, are you acknowledging the employee, explaining the situation and getting their buy-in from it, versus the bulldozer sort of thing, because either we do this or we retrench you. So what do you prefer? You know, and it feels like that's what's happening with the bigger businesses.
Exactly. Or if you don't like it, you don't have to work for me anymore. You know, that's the kind of attitude that we come across now. And this, Ida said it now earlier, you know what, we need to support each other now, and we need to look after one another. And there are people that are more vulnerable than others. If you are in such a fortunate position to be an employer, your employees are the vulnerable party here. And you must remember that you need to do things the right way.
Yeah, and I mean, if you get to a point where this is what you can do, it's just about communicating, discussing. It's like anything, and then say, listen, these are our options, you know, and let them understand, let them ask their questions, let them. It's a bit of a process and energy that needs to go into that, but it is the better thing to do long term for your business. And you know, whatever happens is we're all in the same boat at the end of the day. You know, if things are going to prolong so much that I may go out of business, you may go out of business, we all may go out of business, you know, but I also believe that we'll be able to like a phoenix, you know, rise up again, and we'll be better for it as well. So, you know, it's like, let's play this game day by day and see where it goes. So yeah, but I think I'm detracting a little bit from the discussion. Ida, so in terms of, you know, TERS and some of the release from the banks, etc. You know, what is new, or what have you experienced so far? I know you've had a lot of queries after our last session. What have you been experiencing?
So I have had a few clients that have successfully applied for their TERS benefit. The benefits have been paid to them. They are just eagerly awaiting the split to know per employee what is being paid, what has to be paid to whom, because not all of them were able to have it paid directly to the employees themselves. So that gives me a warm heart, and that tells me they're working in the background. UIF is pulling their weight, although they're very scared of their system falling apart because it's not used to the amount of traffic. I know SARS has sent a team there to help stabilize the system and start pushing through the claims. A lot of people have been to the banks. That there is obviously good feedback and bad feedback, but you have to remember, in the end, you're not going to get anything for free. They're going to help you as long and as far as they can, but at a cost. And that's the one unfortunate thing, is you're covering debt by increasing debt. So all I say is plan carefully, look at your cash flow. What can be cut, what can be reduced. I'm not saying don't go without cover, but maybe just reduce your cover so that you can increase it again when times are better. A lot of people also have said that they've submitted UIF illness benefits because they went into self-isolation. Those benefits, they've had communication about them. They're being handled, they're being paid. So those are good, positive things out there. And I know of a lot of more corporate companies that are doing their own things. For instance, the Success Academy launched last night. They said they made their own fund. They're going to support their tenants rather than lose the business. They're going to negotiate with them, try and promote them and get them income. So, I mean, that's people looking after people and understanding the situation. In the end, you've got a responsibility towards the people that are working for you, your employees. As much as you are in trouble, they are in trouble. So it's the one hand has to look after the other.
Yeah, and I see there's some questions that's come in around this issue, so I'll definitely get to those, after we're done with what we want to talk about. Then also just maybe to let you know, so there's some of the insurers, so the life insurance companies and that, and I think short-term insurers as well. I'm talking under correction, but they have made some measures available. Some of them will say, you can stop your premium, but your policy won't be cancelled, but you also won't have cover because you didn't pay. So you sit in this catch-22 situation where you want to save on the monthly premiums that you pay towards your life cover, but if you do contract the virus and you are unfortunate to pass away, then there also won't be a claim. So these things doesn't really work together, but the different companies have offered different sort of relief measures. Some of them have not. But the best thing there to find out exactly what your options are as an employer or as a for your own personal financial planning. And also if you want to tell your employees, they need to contact their financial advisors and find out exactly what is available to them, because that's the best place to go get the options from. Then other relief measures. Last week we didn't get to touch on the other relief measures, Sunette. So I mean, there's a whole host of them. I want to sort of run them through. I'll ask you about some of them. You can just maybe give a brief description and just the idea behind it and where we are with it. There's really two sort of parts to it. There's relief measures provided by government, and this is by government departments. So each department has their own thing, and we're not going to get into all of them. There's about 8 or so that I want to talk about. But, it's per department. And then you've got obviously from the private sector as well, where there are certain things that's been set up. So the first one is the Department of Small Business Development. What have they got going?
So that department has 3 relief systems. They've got the Business Growth Facility, the SME Debt Relief Finance, and then restructuring if you're an already funded CFA SME. So the Business Growth Facility is mainly looking at local manufacturers and suppliers of healthcare and related products, all those things being utilized in the fight against COVID-19 or in the supply of food and other things that have been categorized as essential. So there you can apply for relief. They give you capital to do and stock bridge finance, purchase order finance, capital equipment finance. Basically what you need, it's in a loan form. Your loan is at a minimal interest rate of prime less 5%. So, and with the repo rate being downgraded with another 200 points, that's a good loan to apply for if you qualify with all the criteria. Then the SMME debt relief. There's a big confusion because there's this big yellow website. Everybody's rushing to get registered there. That registration portal is mainly for people that can supply these COVID-19 essential goods. The other SMME debt relief, you have to apply through the CFA, SIDA, MyBundu, or the DSPD websites. This is the SMME debt relief, where you apply for funding, for help, because your company has lost its income, you're struggling. Everything has to do with you've lost this due to the pandemic. You could not operate, you lost income because you were under lockdown, you weren't classified as essential. There people can also apply for loans. Also, the loans are interest rate of prime less 5%. And then there are repayment negotiations on when I can pay, when will the interest be loaded onto the capital, can I pay in bulk. But the main thing with these things coming from the departments is they require compliance with SARS, compliance with UIF, compliance with CIPC. If you are not compliant, you're not going to get funding from them. Then the last thing is restructuring of CFA funded SMMEs. So if you are a micro enterprise, you would have started your business usually using some CFA funding. You can now go and restructure that loan that you received from them and how you're going to pay it back. There's also a lot of people now that are trying to apply for some CFA funds just to carry them over through the period. For instance, hairdressers, coaches, all those sort of, I don't have a registered entity. I'm sort of a sole proprietor, but I've got this big business. I can make a turnover. I just need some help getting over this time when people start coming to my business again. So that's the 3 things that mainly comes out of that department for small businesses. And all the things can be found on their website. All the links are there. They have a really nice, compact, user-friendly website.
Okay, cool. Because there's so many things to choose from, and I think to know where to go is the challenge, right? You know, if you need to go to every single thing, it becomes quite a mission to figure out which one is most appropriate for you, because I guess that's the one where you'll have the biggest chance of getting help. Then secondly, the Industrial Development Corporation, or the IDC.
The IDC is looking at vulnerable business and fast-tracking funding for these businesses that are considered vital for the addressing of the impact of COVID-19. Again, focusing more on the manufacturing side, where you are bringing in, designing new ventilators, making new type of face masks. They're also pushing, if you need stuff that needs to be certified and tested, they're helping you push these things through the process so that these items can be released to the public. There you've got support for the manufacturing of these essential medical products. You've got up to 500 million rand worth of finance for the manufacturing procurement for these products. And they also have short-term interventions that they manipulate just for your business, for what your business can offer the country, literally.
Okay. And then the Department of Tourism.
Department of Tourism, this is a highly contested relief. Not going to go into all the negatives about this, but they are very much focused that you have to be classified according to their broad-based Black economic empowerment to receive relief. They're focusing on a few main areas. And they're also then paying or taking women, youth, and disabled people with companies. They get placed above everybody else. But unfortunately, fast food places and restaurants, nightclubs, bars, anything to do with gaming or gambling, franchise restaurants, and things that are attached to these tourism facilities, any establishment that is partially owned or financed by the government cannot apply for this fund. They have a certain amount of funding per province based on what that province gives to the tourism budget, and then based on what is inside that province, it gets distributed. It's very contested. It's very sad to see that it is this way, but there is relief. Go read up, see if you can. I mean, if you're a single lady in your own company trying to do a tourism industry operating guide, planning trips, go and apply. You might not get everything that you have applied for, but you might get a cent. That's my opinion about the tourism department's relief.
Okay. Yeah. Then the last one, as far as government is concerned, that I want to ask you about is the Department of Trade and Industry. So there's a couple of schemes there. What is available under them?
So the two main schemes that are being focused on, again, focus is on the supplying of the people of the country. The first one is the Agro-Processing Support Scheme. This is to stimulate the South African agro-processing enterprises. They can get up to 20 million rands worth of funding per entity, and this is then used as a capital to start up your agro-processing, either producing whatever essential food, crops, all those things as listed in the essentials guidelines. The other is the Black Industrialist Scheme. So the Black Industrialist Scheme is a grant, and they look at a cost-sharing basis. So they look at black economic companies that are getting out there, manufacturing things, looking after the people of their community, ensuring their community are employed, and they get cover from up to 30 to 50% of their capital costs and any acquisitions they carry on to do their business.
Okay. Then I want to get into the private side of things. Sunette, sorry, I know you're still there. I'm going to come back to you. I've got some more questions for you as well.
Sorry.
So in terms of that, let's start with Sakuma. Who's behind that fund, and I think it's closed at the moment.
So Sakuma is the Oppenheimer's fund. It's the money that Mr. Oppenheimer gave the country. The fund is currently overprescribed. They did release a statement stating that as soon as they have gone through all the current applications and sifted them, these will then get their grants. Those ones that fall out, they will open up the grant again. We can apply the grant again. They're very strict on their rules. If you do not send them the required information within set business days, you fall out of the running. You will not get your funding. So they're very strict. They're also focusing very much on compliance and on the financial efficiency of your business. So ensure that you get all your documents and everything right and ready. Get on the roll. Ensure that you know what they need. Once that fund opens up again, the people are going to apply. It's a very, very good fund to have if you can get it.
Yes. Okay. So can you still submit, although it's oversubscribed? Is there like a wait list or do you need to see when it opens?
The website is open. You can still submit and start going through the processes. They send you an email with everything that they require from you, but you become a number on the waiting list, and you have to be very efficient on answering their emails if their emails start coming through.
Okay, no, cool. So hope it doesn't go to your spam folder. So check it every day. Okay, 5 times a day. Check your spam folder. Then the National Empowerment Fund.
So the National Empowerment Fund works with the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. It's for Black businesses to come forward for funding geared at the support and manufacturing of, again, medical supplies and the production of food. All of these funds are looking at businesses, not just only to supply what the country needs during the pandemic, but also to start giving jobs and ensuring people that are currently unemployed or being retrenched can at least get a minimum wage job and earn some money, so that there is a slow economic cash flow running through the country. It doesn't just die down to nothing.
Okay. So you refer to Black business. Does that mean 51% Black ownership, or is there a specific BEE level that you need to be?
No, definitely 50% Black ownership, and they have to have management control.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why 51% then. Okay. So then the SA Future Trust.
So the SA Future Trust, that is also some of the Oppenheimer money. That works with the 4 major banks: Absa, FNB, Nedbank, and Standard Bank. You have to be an existing client to be able to apply for this. You go to your branch. The branch will tell you exactly what you need, what you can get. It's a loan that you have to pay back, but you get a payment break, and it helps you to ensure that your employees get some funds.
Okay. And then lastly, the last thing I want to touch on, which I have not been that impressed with, to be honest, but the banking sector, some of them more than others, have made certain relief measures available. And I love how they promote it in such a nice, positive, optimistic, fantastic way. And then when you actually go read it, it's like, okay, no, but this is not really helping sometimes. And this is something I think people need to know about. You know, if somebody says that you don't need to repay your loan, but we're going to capitalize those premiums, it's helping you in the short term, but it's now increasing the outstanding loan amount, and you're paying interest on interest, basically, is what's going to happen. So, you know, if that is something that you have to use, then use it because it's there. But also understand the long-term impact from this. You know, often helping is not always helping, but it depends. Sometimes we just need cash flow to get over a certain period of time and we'll be okay. Then it was fantastic. We'll pay the price for that. But also just understand what it is that they offer and that. But is there anything in particular that you want to highlight there?
There's nothing in particular there. Again, I go back to my earlier statement where I said you're creating debt to pay debt. So be very mindful of before you go and apply for all these things, and read the fine print, read the agreements. Again, we'll give a chance to Sunette to sort of explain these things again, because most of them, they're not giving you the the money. It's not gone. You have to pay this at a later stage. It becomes part of the capital that you have to pay back, and then they start charging you interest on that increased capital. So like Franco explained, it's interest on interest. So the relief measures are there, but be aware of the complications that come with them and the implications that they can have, so that you can plan your cash flow accordingly. If you need to do it, by all means, I get why you have to do it, but try and plan better, plan your cash flow, see if they won't. Each bank has their own thing, and each bank manager has their own thing, and each company is unique. So try and at least go and create a unique package for your entity. Not all of us want to venture out, but I believe this is something that you have to venture out, go sit with them and plan a package, because if you are more proactive and you go with them with the knowledge, you can make a better and a stronger plan for you, your business, and the future.
Yeah, that's the thing. Consider all the options on the table and choose the best ones and see where you are successful. Don't just go for the easiest one, because that's not necessarily the best option. You can put your questions in the chat area, please. I'm going to get to your questions in a second. But before I do, I want to jump back to Sunette. Sunette, one of the things that I've picked up is that, I don't know, and it's big businesses doing this. It's just, I'm not going to pay my rent this month. Just easy, just like, I know of people I know people personally where people have sent them letters to say, sorry, I'm not going to pay you, and businesses are making decisions like that. I mean, what are the implications for this? And from a legal standpoint, I don't know what's happening there, and is this within their rights to do this? Is there special circumstances? What's your view?
Francois, it will depend on obviously your lease agreement that you have with your landlord. I think from a moral point of view, it's not really fair on your landlord just to send a letter to say, oh, by the way, you're not going to get paid for now. And like Ida just said, now I think now's the time to act reasonably. Look at your cash flow situation and communicate with all your creditors and say, look, please understand, obviously, whether you're in a retail space or a normal commercial office space or wherever you are, contact your landlord, try and make a payment arrangement. Just as much as you don't want to pay, they didn't want this lockdown to happen either. It's not that you're not at the office or at your shop because of their doing or out of their doing. This was a national lockdown ordered by government. There is in contractual law, there is a thing called force majeure, an act of God, and that clause normally regulates what happens when a completely unforeseeable event takes place that's not within in or under the control of either of the parties. It can be anything. It can be an epidemic or pandemic like we have now. It can be strikes, riots. It can be something like a natural disaster. A good example of force majeure was 9/11. Those kind of things happen, but it's not because of either of the parties doing that the parties are not able to perform in terms of the contract. For now, if you have a contract with a creditor and there is a force majeure clause in place, I would suggest you call me so that we can have a look at it. I would not call on that clause just as yet, because normally, or that's anyway my interpretation is, this is not at the moment not a permanent situation. We don't know when the lockdown is going to be lifted. So I cannot now claim that my landlord is not able to perform in terms of my lease agreement indefinitely, because I think there needs to be a bit of a sense of permanence involved in the situation to be able to rely on force majeure and to be able to get out of a lease agreement. I do think a lot of our creditors are also thinking what they should do in this instance, and I think the time would come now very soon in the next week or two where parties will have to come together and sit and negotiate on what can be done. Like I said to you, I think a lot of people are waiting and anticipating what's happening tomorrow evening so that they can just put their plans in place. But I think for any type of contractual agreement at this moment in time, as with what Ida said and what you said is, try and keep up as much as you can with all your obligations that you have at the moment. And if you can't, also don't just send a letter and say, oh, sorry, by the way, I cannot pay you, because that can also be regarded as an act of insolvency, which you also don't want, because your creditor can file for liquidation of your business. So I just think people shouldn't take any knee-jerk reactions now. And again, until we know better, until we know where we're going with this thing, I think let common sense and decency prevail, and contact your creditors, contact your landlord, and make a plan. I've heard of a lot of them that want to say to their tenants, look, we understand you can't pay now, but we will extend your lease for the period of the lockdown after the expiry of your lease to make up for this lost time, or whatever the case might be. I think there will be these kind of proposals that we will start come across in the next week or two. But for now, do what's right. And if you can't pay rent because you haven't actually had any cash flow, your revenue, your turnover was absolutely annihilated this month, communicate. Make a plan, even if it's a deferred plan that you make, but at least just communicate.
Yeah, I think that's, there's one thing that we hold in our business that I think this is the time to sort of hang on to, that is people over profit, is that put the relationship first and salvage the relationships, because everybody will come to the party and help one another, but you've got to keep your relationships intact. This is not a case of, well, I either do this or I go down, which is true. It's not that it's untrue. But just remember that there's a time that you want to get up, and then you want people there to be able to help and support you. So we just got to keep that in mind. I think that is the golden sort of thread that I get through all of the answers and everything that you and Ida have been sharing today. What about, let's just say I fall behind on my home loan payment for this month. Has the bank got any right to harass me for the money right now?
According to what I can gather, is there's actually been put a moratorium on any form of debt collection activities during the lockdown. So you know what, they could probably alert you of it, but they cannot, get anybody to literally harass you for that. And again, I think more than ever, people would be in a position now, if you communicate back with them. Obviously, if they're going to get radio silence from a debtor's point, there will be consequences. And every contract has obligations and rights, and you can't just walk away from the obligations you have in terms of a contract. So, whatever the case might be, be it a home loan, be it your vehicle finance, whatever the case might be, yes, they may not actually, pursue you at this moment in time for you not making your monthly installment, but it's not going to carry on indefinitely, and there will be a time where these activities will be reintroduced. So rather try and do the right thing now and make an arrangement. I think most agreements have a clause or some form of arrangement that you can make and then obviously the scope of the agreement becomes different, because then you actually end up signing an acknowledgement of debt with your creditors, which is a separate agreement then, but it is quite onerous. So the moment you feel that you're not in a position to make your obligations or to meet your obligations, rather contact them first and make sure whatever you do, you reduce to writing, that you can have at least something to fall back on.
Yes, that's always the key thing here as well. So save the relationship and have things in writing, it seems. Those are the two things. All right, so on that note,
just walk away. You can't walk away from anything. There will be consequences, unfortunately.
Absolutely. All right, I want to get into some of the questions. We haven't got many questions today. Last week we had quite a number. So if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat. We will gladly answer them. So the first one is from Reg. He's asking you, Sunette, if the company has no income, do they still have to pay the worker his or her full salary? So this is now this thing, if I can maybe verbatim this and add a little bit onto this, is to say there's no income at the moment. So let's say my turnover went to nothing. But now it's still this thing, do I have reserves or don't I have reserves? So there's these two elements. There's a stopping of the cash flow or a severe reduction in cash flow. And then on the other hand, whether you have reserves to still pay them and whether you can use this reduction in turnover to say, well, I can't pay you because there's no money coming in and, therefore it's no work, no pay or forced leave or anything like that.
Yes, Francois and Reg, I would say obviously if there's absolutely no income coming in, first of all, begin to communicate with your staff. They must be just as aware as you of the fact that there's no income coming in at this moment in time. So you'll have to start opening those discussions with your employees to advise them of the situation that the company finds itself in at this moment in time. And either, like you say, Francois, put them on forced leave for now if they do have annual leave due to them. But the problem with annual leave is that it's still paid leave. So you still have to pay your staff. So it's a catch-22. My suggestion will be is to, as far as you can, negotiate a reduced package for your staff now or put them on temporary layoff for this period and to apply via TERS. I mean, TERS is now actually open the criteria even more for employers to make use of these mechanisms that government and private sectors is put in place for SMMEs to support you and your staff during this time until you're in a position to start actually making a turnover again. But yes, you can't just not pay them. Start negotiating now and make sure you do things right. If you don't know, give me a call or send me an email and I'll help you to get the letters and all the communications done correctly.
Yes, I'll put the emails on the screen just now again. So the next question from KM. Hi, Sunette. I've issued, I guess, letter to all employees stating they have been temporarily laid off during this time, but are still permanently employed. Is this the correct way?
Yes, Kim, you are the best. Thank you so much for actually doing it right. Well done. People like you make me very happy. You've done it perfectly correctly, and the fact that everything is in writing is 100%. You do now, of course, that you can also apply for them for this UIF TERS benefit in the meantime during temporary layoff. I'm sure you're such a whiff mice, you've done it probably already, hopefully. But yes, so that's just an extra measure that you can take to assist your employees during this time. But yes, you've done it perfectly correctly.
Okay, great. Then question from Eric Erasmus. Eric's asking, what about city council rates and taxes? Is it still going through each month? If my tenants cannot pay, how do I cover at least that?
You know what? That's what I'm saying. That's where common decency comes in. I think it's easy for a tenant to say, oh, I'm just not going to pay my rent this month, but they don't think that there's a landlord on the other side that also has obligations. This place that you live in has a bond probably over the property and, like you say, rates and taxes that needs to be covered by the actual owner. So I feel your pain, Eric. I think the council will still issue their rates and taxes accounts. I've seen a thing this morning where they said obviously they can't come in to take all your what you call it, numbers and figures, but you can send in your readings yourself. But the fact of the matter is, again, try and speak to them and see if you can't come to some form of compromise of at least something, even if it's a reduced rental amount for now. You know what, tenants can't just not pay, and they can't, expect of you to keep them there whilst you have to cover all the expenses without them actually bringing or coming to the party. Yeah. So again, it's a two-way street. Yeah. If you want to ask or get my assistance with trying to negotiate with them, we're more than welcome. At the moment, it's very difficult with debt collection activities being basically prohibited. But we can try and see if we can't come to some form of agreement with your tenant.
Ida, do you want to add anything to that? Because I mean, I guess from that point is that, yes, rates and taxes, it will still be payable. It's one of those things that's just going to add up and add up. But I think maybe also what Eric is asking in that I read between the lines is there any relief for him? Because he says, if my tenants cannot pay, how do I cover at least that? So obviously from your own money, but is there any relief available for him that may be available?
The only relief available for these people is going to the bank. Going to the banks, negotiating with their bonds departments, seeing if they can get some relief there. That's the only way. I know a few banks have also said they're not going to charge their normal bank charges and those things. And unfortunately, not all of us live in Stellenbosch, where they had stopped the rates and taxes. So I think the whole of South Africa would like to move there currently. But those that are involved with you earning this income, get talking to them, get negotiating with them. Some income rather than nothing is also always better. So just negotiate. That's the only way. If you don't speak, you're not going to get an answer. And if you don't ask, you're not going to get an answer.
Yes. Okay.
If we hear of anything, we will post it here, believe you us. But so far, we have given all the guidance that is out there.
And also, before I move on to some more questions, you'll see at the bottom of the screen is where you can get in contact with Ida or with Sunette with their email addresses. You can also go to the website there, francoisdutoit.co.za/CV19, and you can then indicate there what you want more information on. When you contact us about the relief measures, you'll get the summary for free about all of the things that are available, the websites where you can get linked to what it's about, who can apply, and those kind of things. But then we also offer detailed packs around each of those that details about what are the documents that's required, what is the process, help you with the manual forms for what needs to go where. So it's a full guidance on that that you can purchase from us. It's 250 Rand a pack, if I've got it correctly. Yeah, and you can choose whether you want all the packs or just a particular pack. That's totally up to you. But for that, you can contact Ida directly from that point. And if you let Sunette know, if you sign up, not sign up, if you go to that website address, it'll ask you want more HR legal kind of information. You will receive an email that will give you access to Sunette for a half an hour or an hour. I can't remember exactly, but you get some free time with her or complimentary time with her. So if you want your questions particular to your situation, because obviously here it's a bit difficult for us to answer everything particularly to yours. There's so many moving parts. So you have that opportunity to do that. So please, you can visit the site and just you add your name, email address, and you just tick the ones that you're interested in. We've also got for Renata is also on there with the business optimization and things. So you can also find out more about that if you want to look at how can you structure your business. Not only now, I think we already need to start looking at what are we doing post this. I'm busy creating content and things for one of the professional bodies that I work with in terms of how are we going to be working after all of this? How are things going to change? How do you reposition yourself? So those are the kind of things that you want to start thinking about now already. I know we're just stuck into where we are right now, but you really need to start thinking about, like, when we get out of this, like immediately after it, and then after that, and then after that, like, we need to start going to the future again and saying, like, how can we adapt? How can we be more effective? What do we need to do differently, so that if this happens again, that we will be better off? I mean, I don't think you'll ever get away from this unscathed at all. Doesn't matter how well you plan, but more from a point of view that you may be in a bit of better position than we were when this now hits unexpectedly. Then also KM is just saying, I have already applied and been paid. I'm just waiting for the breakdown from UIF. Thanks, Ida, for trying to assist me with the breakdown. Yeah, it's quite a mission. There's no clarity on this. So, yeah, waiting in anticipation, right?
Yeah, we're waiting. There's that everywhere it mentions that there will be a calculator on the UIF website. I've been scrolling that website. It's like permanently open on my desktop. Nothing has been released. I've even gone as far as downloading the UIF Act, trying to recalculate it myself. But there is just no way without any guidance on how to apply this calculation. So we're all waiting to see. I am in contact with KM and everybody else that has asked me for help and that We're trying to figure it out so that we can help more people. The more information we have, the better decisions we can make. And I think we as South Africans thrive on that. That's why we're anxiously waiting to hear what the Minister of Finance is going to say. We need the details as soon as possible, because it all influences our planning, not just for now, not just short term, but long term, like you said.
Yep. And then Liesel is asking, what are my options as a freelance makeup artist with the wedding industry indefinitely cancelled? Yes, I was the other day in my live shows, I said, I don't know why. This one morning, I was just thinking about, wow, the photographers, the videographers, the makeup artists, I didn't even think so much about the venues at that point in time, but because those are the things you think of first, but there's all these other people that 100% rely on being able to go out and work directly with people and have events that they can film and, take photos at, and obviously makeups and things. And both my daughters are into that, so yeah, is there any options for Liesel? Ida?
There are not much options for freelancers or any people that earn commission. But what I can say, what I saw on CIFA's website today, is the way of getting funding through them. You can actually apply through them. Sorry for looking down, but CIFA supplies funding for small enterprises so that they can either directly or through wholesale do lending from 500 Rand up to 5 million Rand. So, and they don't have a lot of criteria you need to meet to just get a little bit of funding that you can pay off later at a very, very nice interest rate. And then they give finance on specific things as well. They give asset finance, term loan finance, credit guarantee schemes. There's bridging loans. There's structured finance solutions. So go to CIFA's website, go on there, go read up about these. There are these small little schemes because many of us just need that little extra just to get us through until this is over. And don't forget about doing things online. I mean, I've seen people, especially now looking at makeup artists, doing online makeup classes where you pay them, they Zoom in and they give you a makeup class over Zoom. So think outside of the box. Use the digital era that we are in now to your advantage and try and make something new. My husband's company said, now is the time to learn a new skill. So learn a new skill. I mean, I've never been on YouTube, and here I am today on my second session. And it's just the way of how you think outside the box and ask the questions, speak to the people, hear what people need. The needs don't stop.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it is, sometimes we get so stuck in, and I feel for Liesel. I understand exactly where she is. I've been in similar situations many times. And, it's just like, you get so stuck into, there's no money coming. Everything is cancelled. Suddenly a fully booked diary. I mean, I spoke to Ryan Stramroot yesterday. He's like, I was fully booked for 2-3 months ahead. And just like that, boom, gone. Everything blank. There's nothing. There's no income. It stopped like that. And that's a guy that speaks on stages across the world. So this is impacting those people as well as us just trying to make sort of get through and make our living, but in that you can either choose to focus on where you find yourself or possibly where you could go and what else is possible and how can you take what because everything is teachable. So whatever you got, and I mean, imagine you can be that person for other people to say, this is how you can look beautiful even while you're in lockdown. And you give them you will be amazed at how much that means to other people. So go have a look. Think around those lines, Liesel. Sorry, I'm not trying to preach to you or anything. It's just I've got so much passion for that, and that's what I'm thinking. Then Reg is again asking, but thank you very much, Liesel, for that question. It's great. Let me just see.
Seems like French was internet letting down.
Am I back? Sorry. Don't know what happened there. But anyway, Reg is then asking on the layoff, is this with full salary or only salary once layoff is done. So what happens? So is this, I mean, Ida, if I've got this correctly, possibly that you can temporarily lay off people, but then you can claim from TERS so that you can still pay them some form of an income while they are laid off. Is that what it is?
Yes. And even if your company has the cash flow to pay the employee now while you wait for your TERS funding, you can then keep the TERS funding to sort of credit the company back for what you have paid the employees. So the TERS has really opened their criteria. There's now a lot of ways that you can apply and why you can apply for TERS. So TERS is definitely at this stage one of the forefront measures that are being pushed and that we believe in. And I mean, I've seen it now working. I've got a few people that I've worked closely with that we've gone through the process. They've applied manually and online and going through the schedules, and it is working. It is working. It might not be slow. It might not be as fast as you wish for it to be, but it is working. Apply, get that funding. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is they're going to tell you, listen, you cannot get this, but most people are receiving it because that broadened the criteria so much.
Okay, and then the last thing is again from Liesel, I think just adding on to what she said before. She says, especially in the beauty industry, as will probably be one of the last to be reintroduced due to the personal touch. And then my income varies. So here's a problem, I think, where she feels like she cannot apply because she don't have a bank or income fluctuates quite a bit. But I mean, it should be very easy. I don't think you even need to prove that. If you can say, listen, yeah, I work in the wedding industry, everybody knows that everything got cancelled. So it should, even though you have maybe big months and quiet months, or you have busy seasons and quiet seasons, you can still show to them, like, I mean, this was still summer. It's still like, autumn. People are still getting married. So you can definitely show, here's the bookings I had, they gone, number one. And number two, you can see there's no money coming in. So I'm pretty sure she could use that as a motivation.
And even if she uses the messages where the people have cancelled due to lockdown and all of those things are support that you can submit when you apply for funding, especially if you go to the bank. Things that I have seen online is people are doing raffles. Buy a raffle ticket for 50 Rand and stand a chance to win getting your nails done once lockdown is over. Treat yourself to this. There are loads and loads of options. There's even people that have released packages at discount rates stating, if you pay me so much of this package, then you'll get it at this amazing discount rate, because everybody is just trying to retain some income. So really think out of the box. If you need something specific for your industry, you're a little scared, please don't hesitate to contact us, communicate with us. That's why we're doing this. We are trying to help you. We are learning with you. We are going through this with you. That's why we're doing this. That's why we created this forum, is for everybody to just at least feel my voice is being heard. I've got some guidance.
You summarized everything beautifully. Thank you, Ida. Ida, to both you and Sunette, thank you very much for your time and for joining me again to have this discussion. I really appreciate it. Guys, remember, you can go to francodetoy.co.za/CV19 for COVID-19. And you can go and indicate there what information you want, or if you want anybody to contact you, you can do the same there. And then obviously you've got the email addresses on the screen to get in contact with Ida and with Sunette. And we really want to invite you to do that. And then remember the packs that's available that Ida's really put together. She's done all the legwork for you. You don't have to go and search for things and understand things, and she's already done all of that for you. So have a chat to Ida in that regard. But from that, I think that is it for today. We'll be back next week with an update and with new things, and see what we can talk about that will add value to you and give some more clarity. So hopefully then by tomorrow we'll know more, but we'll only have the session every Wednesday at 11. So look out for the emails. We'll definitely invite you. And that's it from me. Ida, last words from you.
I just think at this stage is knowledge is power. Don't just give in and sit down. Research, ask the question, try and do something. I know it feels like you're being paralyzed because you're in lockdown. There's no you don't know what's going to happen. But we are here. Start chatting to each other. Start chatting to your community. Ask the questions. We'll try and help you as far as we can, because there are also things that we don't think of to look for and to chat about. So we're here. Use us. Look after each other.
Absolutely. Cool stuff. And then Sunette, last word from you.
Yeah, I think Ida summarized it quite nicely there. Yeah, like I said to you last week after the show, as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, I think, running your own business is normally quite a lonely thing to do. And during this time, it's even worse than it's ever been before. And you've got virtually nobody to use as a soundboard. There's so much uncertainty. Nobody really knows what to do. Everybody's in limbo and everybody's uncertain. And I think this is a perfect, excellent forum to belong to actually, first of all, like Ida said, ask the questions. Ask us anything. We're learning with you, but we're there to support you. We're there to actually get you guys through this in one piece. And like you say, it's not only to look for now and the right now, but to start planning for what we're going to do after this. So this is not like a flash in the pan. We here to assist not only now but in the future. So please don't be shy. Our services are there for you guys to use. Like Francois said, you've got my services for half an hour for free. So please email me. We're there to help you guys. And stay safe and stay healthy.
Absolutely. And be back next week. We'll send out the emails. So thank you from my side. For everybody that's joined. Because we're saying thank you to Ida and Sunette. But for you that's been here, thank you very much. I'll see you next week. Stay safe and keep well.